'Cause I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
Have you ever had somebody that you really can't get through to get them to understand, but you've got a real conflict and you need to work it out? Well, there are ways to do it. Emily Madill is an author and coach in the area of empowerment, and she joins us for one of her weekly visits on WNDB. Hi, Miss Emily.
Hi, Mark. I love the song.
I'll bet. Let me ask you, what is the thing that you have, which is an analogy that you had on your vision board? It's called "Stay in My Car." What is that?
Well, it's based on choice theory. It's a theoretical model, and basically, it's just kind of taking control of your own life. And so, for me, it's just a reminder that if I'm kind of worrying about other people's business, or, I'm in the backseat of someone else's car, so to speak, that there's nobody here paying attention to my life or driving my car. And so it's really just a reminder to myself to stay present and focused on my own kind of issues at hand.
I never heard that expression before. It seems to be unique to you because you're right. If big issues come up in my life, which doesn't happen very often, I try to remind myself to stay in my car and ask myself, whose car am I in right now? I never do that. I think if I were to stop and use that analysis, I might not be so quick to speak. Does that happen for a lot of people? Or would that happen for you until you started to ask the question, am I in my car?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a level of self-awareness, right? When you're in those places where gee, why do I keep on ending up in this situation? And so it's kind of, for me, it's just a powerful reminder. It's basically where is my focus right now and where does it need to be? I really only have control over what's in my life and what's in front of me. So, I think it's a great way to kind of diffusing conflicts, right? Because the more we kind of meddle in other people's business and things like that, the more conflict can arise.
Yeah, a lesson for us all, minding your own business. Let me take it to this angle. Say you're dealing with a person who you're in conflict with, and it just seems that you're not being heard. Do you use I statements? Do you try to slow it down because you feel like you're trying to meet them halfway and they're not hearing you? I don't know. Do you walk away from a conversation like that because, all right, this is just not a good time to have this conversation because we're not exchanging, this person's got a wall up?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Mark. I think assertiveness is, a wonderful style to dealing with conflict resolution, and it's a positive kind of way that you can approach people, in a positive leadership type way. That being said, you really only have control over how you're going to deliver whatever it is, right? That's it. And so if you're really dealing with somebody that's difficult, a tough customer on the other end, I think it's best, in my experience, and I've done it both ways, is to kind of, walk away. Because when things get heated and, aggression and things like that get brought into it, it just escalates.
Yeah, listening to you speak, I think about my own way of sometimes dealing with conflict. I have to doubly guard that I don't raise my voice, either the volume or the height of it, because I seem to give up ground every time I do that. So if I'm in conflict, I try to, now I've been doing this for the last few months, I try to remain calm, listen to the person, but if there's no exchange and it's one way and the person's not going to try to meet me halfway or try to understand, then I say, you know what, let's talk about this when tempers are a little cooler and we can reason this out, because I don't think we're communicating right now. That may not be the smoothest way to do it, but I find that I have to extricate myself from that situation, otherwise it blows up.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think the important thing to remember too, Mark, is that, conflict is a normal part of being human.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to eradicate it, right? It's a part of human relationships. And so I think where I find it really interesting is in those really difficult scenarios with could be in corporations or in relationship or whatever, where it's just the same kind of thing keeps repeating. I think those are opportunities for people to kind of create those resolutions within themselves, for themselves, like what you're saying, using your own technique of calming yourself down, right? Like that other person still could be red hot on the other side, and you really have no control over that. But what you do have control over is just, like you said, over the last 12 months or whatever it was, having that awareness and being conscious of that to, a simple thing. I'm not going to raise my voice because I know that when I do, I don't feel good afterwards, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to set my own boundary and walk away right now, and let's discuss this at a later time. You might still have somebody on the other end that's, freaking out, but you've kind of set that boundary for yourself.
Talk about this issue of wrapping up your hurt in a red balloon and letting it go. Where does that come from?
Well, yeah, it was just a recent article that I wrote. I know I had kind of shared that experience with you, that I went to Arizona, and we went...
hot air ballooning?
Yeah, we went hot air ballooning. It was really cool. And so previous to that, I don't know, months ago, there was a difficult situation in my life, and I was just really, wanting to let it go. But, I think those things that are really valuable life lessons, or, that you're really kind of ingrained in, there's people kind of closer in our lives where it's like easier said than done to just be like, well, I'm just going to let this go, right?
Yeah.
But clearly it was time for me to let it go. And so I had somebody tell me, like, just, put that relationship or whatever it is in a red balloon and let it go. And I was kind of like, okay, well, that's great in theory, but, it just seemed a little bit kind of almost childish or whatever. Like, I just couldn't really envision it. And so anyway, when I was out hot air ballooning, when you're up in the sky and you're 5,000 feet up, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but it's actually really calm. Like,
yes,
it's really quiet. It's really serene. And so I just kind of made that analogy where, like kind of sending that hurtful thing off into that space for me was like, you know what, it's actually a really kind of peaceful place up here, right? And so I just kind of, for me, I just thought it's a wonderful way of, for me to kind of frame that, letting it go, that things can kind of be let go of in a loving way, right? And so for myself, it's just kind of liberating to let go of things and to be able to actually do that.
I want to throw something at you, and perhaps you might offer some options for people. I'll speak for myself. I've been in this position. I've known someone else that can be like this, where you have so much to be thankful for in your life. 98% of the things that come to you are all positive, rich, and honoring. And then something goes wrong. And rather than put it in a perspective of, okay, I'll set that aside, that was unfortunate, but I'm not going to let it ruin my day, the person, and I'm guilty of doing this myself, so I'll expose myself, gets caught up, if not obsessed, but focused only on that negative. Could be something somebody said to you, could be a bad performance, it could be something. It's not earth-ending, it's not earth-shattering or life-ending. It's just that it didn't go well, or it could be even somebody that you really respected who said something that wasn't positive, it was negative, and you stay focused on it for the rest of the day or the night. Now, I know someone who does that. How do you get a person out of that? Or is it possible to get a person out of that? Because talking
I think,
sometimes just doesn't help.
As a person being in that, because I think we can all relate to that, right? It's like, 98% of life can be going well, and then the 2% that isn't, sometimes that's what becomes our focus. It's like, oh, I did all of these things great, but it's like there's this one little thing, right? And so I think, again, I don't know, Mark, that, if you're asking me the advice, could you reach that person to pull them out of it?
Yeah.
I really, I get what you're saying, and I really am a strong believer that those kinds of decisions have to be made by the person themselves. Like you could say something inspirational or, kind of deliver it in a different way, but it's really up to that person because it's all about the perspective and the lens that they're viewing the world through. Like that's a personal choice of how people are choosing to view things.
All right.
Really. And I would say, again, get back in your car and, carry on. Like, offer your piece of advice and whatever, but, you can't get caught up too much in trying to recreate that, help that person who is choosing not to see either, right? Because then you're not in control of your own happiness, and you're just kind of really getting sucked into their web.
Okay. There's another element that was in the package that you sent to me that I wanted to get before our audience, and that's how to make an apology work. It's a new study. Whitney Patterson wrote something that you were kind enough to share that offers an important tip to anyone looking for forgiveness. It's not always as easy as simply saying you're sorry. According to a new study in organizational and human decision process, a one-size-fits-all apology is not the most effective route to conflict resolution. Let me tell you what happens to me. Sometimes I do this on a daily basis. I will make a mistake and I have to apologize for it. I have no trouble making the apology. Here's what I get stuck on. I say, you know what, that was thoughtless. I'm sorry. I have a tendency sometimes to draw people in who I may have offended. And sometimes they fit a certain demographic. And they'll say, typical, if it'd be like, yeah, well, you shouldn't have done that because now look what happened. I'm sorry. I should have thought this through. I will try not to do that again. I'm sorry if I've offended you. If there's damage, I will pay for it. Please, I hope you'll accept my apology. Okay, apology accepted. But, you really shouldn't do this because then this and it's like 3 times they'll come back and remind you what you did. Look, I acknowledged that I did wrong. I said I'm sorry. I've offered to make restitution. What more can I do? I ask you, Emily Madill.
What more can I do? I totally get what you're saying, and I'm kind of a believer that if somebody's intention is good, to kind of view it as that. But, and this thing that I pulled was from the Greater Good Science Center through Berkeley, and it's really the science behind it. And so they did a study on it. And what's interesting, Mark, is that it all depends on, the type of person that you are, and how you're going to receive an apology, which kind of makes it confusing. But, they do say that apology is one of the most effective ways of resolving, inner conflict. So, maybe delivering that apology, you could feel good about yourself, that your intentions are good.
Yes.
As far as receiving that, I think you kind of need to, and again, that comes back to awareness, to be aware and mindful of who it is you're delivering the apology to.
Bingo.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, what they say is that, people that have a strong sense of autonomy and, are concerned with entitlements and rights, for them, an apology, there should be some offer of compensation. Those are the things that are most effective. And then
which
there's
is
the
what
other
I
people
did.
who,
but here's the thing. If somebody says, I understand or I accept your apology, that should end it, in my opinion. You tell me if I'm wrong. I think if somebody accepts your apology, and you are forthcoming in this, you admit that it's your responsibility, your mistake, you say you're sorry, you ask for forgiveness, and you offer to make restitution, that's as much as the offending party can possibly offer, in my opinion. And if the person accepts it, that should be it. If they say, yes, I accept your apology, then I don't think they should come back on you and say, yeah, but, you did this and this and this and this. If you accept the apology, doesn't that end it, Emily?
Well, you would think, Mark, but I know exactly what you're saying. And again, what I would say, and this is why it's on my vision board for 2015, is to just get in your car.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. If somebody wants to keep on keeping on, that's kind of their deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yes, of course, that's easier said than done when you have people coming at you. But that's where I would set the boundaries. I mean, if your intention is good, you've done your thing, and they're saying in one breath, yes, I accept your apology, then move on. And if they choose to keep at it, set your boundary. And just, for me, I would, I would just not get into a big story about it because that just gives more power and energy, and then you're just becoming a doormat. Don't do that.
Okay. Well, riddle me this, Cape Crusader.
Yeah.
You're in a discussion with a person. They're either a family member or they're an associate, and they repeatedly treat you badly, but you can't avoid them. Is the best thing to do is to have that straight-on conversation, and if they don't respond, then just minimize contact with the person?
That's what I would do. I mean, those sorts of scenarios well, I guess for some people maybe they come up more often than not, but they do. And I think, again, and this was kind of what I wrote in my piece, because, is, yes, like I think just do what you need to do for yourself, and just know to yourself it's okay to let things go, and to take the learning. Like, you can let things go and kind of minimize contact and do all that, and take the lesson that's out of that, like what it is, whatever that lesson is about. Maybe it's about, for you, maybe it's about setting that boundary and holding a boundary with people, right? And so just hold on to that instead of what the people come at you with repeatedly. Okay. Like, just, I would say minimize contact as much as possible.
All right. For you are doing this coaching study with Berkeley. Is it with Berkeley?
Well, I'm doing a course, just a separate course through the University of California, and it's called The Science of Happiness, and it's really interesting. And so right now we're learning about cooperation and reconciliation. And it's all done by scientists. It's interesting. When
will you complete this study?
I have about 5 more weeks.
And then you become certified?
Well, you get you get a certification in the Science of Happiness. It's really interesting. It's actually a free program that Berkeley's offering, and so it's all done online, and it's with different videos and studies, and I don't know. You know me, I like that kind of stuff.
And then you become a coach at that point, and individuals and even corporate people could come to you for guidance. Is that correct? Yeah. Well,
no, the coaching program that I'm doing is separate. That's through Erickson College, and so that will be done in November. But I'm at the point now where, yes, I'm taking on clients just as practice and everything like that. But I'll be completed that in November.
Okay, so we've given people some options on how to deal with difficult people and to resolve conflicts. But the important thing, I think, the thing that above all struck me in these pieces you've written, is to stay in my car and not get in their car, using that analysis, because I think that there's more chance for success if you stay grounded in what you know to be true and right, and that's by staying in your car. Is that fair to say?
I think that's all we really can do at the end of the day, Mark. I mean, just try your best. And like you say, if your intentions are good, you put that out there, and that's done, then move on. And, stay in your car, and I'll remind you.
All right. I know you will. Yeah. And if you want to read more, go to EmilyMadill.com, EmilyMadill.com on the internet, and you can read about the book series that she has produced as well. Emily, thank you so much for this timely and great advice. I will try to apply it and be in my own car very soon.
Awesome. Thanks for the song.
Thank you. Bye, Emily.
See you later. Bye, Mark. Bye.